Thank you all for joining us. Welcome to the first session in our latest initiative, Cybersecurity Series. This session, we'll be talking about cybersecurity awareness for micro, small, and medium enterprises. The speaker for the day is Ms. Rathna K, Senior Product Manager at K7 Computing. The webinar will be for 40 minutes, followed by a 20-minute Q&A session. With that, I'd like to invite Ms. Rathna to take the virtual stage. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rathna. So I work with a company called K7 Computing. So we are into cybersecurity and we've been here in this field for a very long time. So we have seen the evolution of malware right from, joke programs. It started all as a joke program, and then to the kind of sophisticated malware that we see these days. And we have seen how this, malware impacts the industry, both small, medium, large, size does not matter. So malware is something, it just attacks indiscriminately. So it doesn't look at size, it doesn't look at revenue, it doesn't look at anything. So if it is able to find a device where it is not there, it will just try to get into that device. So that's how big the problem is. So first of all, I understand that we are having a lot of entrepreneurs here today. So first and foremost, congratulations to all of you. You have started a venture, which in itself is a very great thing. So you're all starting your own venture and you are starting something new and you are giving employment opportunities to a lot of other people. So this is a matter that needs to be appreciated. So congratulations to all of you. Now, all of you would have had a lot of planning, you've had to take a lot of decisions and things like that to start your business. You have mentors. So organizations like TiE, they give a kind of, a space where entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, or people who want to start a business will get ideas or advice and things like that. So they have created an ecosystem of sorts, which I believe is helping all of you. So along with all of the time and money that you have invested into this startup or into your business, one very important but overlooked area is cybersecurity. So no matter what business you have started, what business you are into, no matter what is the scale of your business, no matter what is the kind of turnover you're expecting, no matter what region you're operating in, you need to have a cybersecurity. So this is required. This is an investment that you need to make, both in terms of time, money, and planning. Cybersecurity requires an investment from your side. It requires your time, it requires your effort, it also requires a little bit of budget, so you can procure some cybersecurity solutions to help you protect your business. So it is okay to start a business, but you'll have to ensure that your business is able to run without a hitch, and especially because of malware. So give me one moment, please, while I share my screen here. Right, so I'm assuming you're able to see my screen, all of you. Right, so let's just start with some basics here. See, with cybersecurity, as with any security, for example, even in security in the real world, the job that the police and the army and the other law enforcement agencies do, you have to cover a lot of basics. If you have the basics covered, you have more than crossed half of the well. So that, attention to detail and covering the basics is very, very important. As in the real world, also in the cyber world, it is very important. For example, you need to lock your home before you leave for work. If there is nobody at home, you need to lock it. These are all basics. Same way here in cybersecurity also, there are some basic things that everybody needs to do in order to keep their businesses and their systems safe. Even for people who don't run a business, who are in fact employed, or people who are at homemakers and other people, even they need to follow some basic cyber hygiene principles in order to stay safe. So we'll look at why that is so and what is the current malware scenario. All right. So who are these bad people? Who are the people who write malware? What do they gain by doing something like that? How does it affect your business as an MSME startup? How does it affect your business? So as you can see, these malware authors, there are plenty of malware authors. Now, please believe me when I say malware is $1 trillion industry. There are a lot of people making money out of writing and distributing malware. Okay, why would they need to write a malware? Why would they distribute a malware? Obviously to make money. How will they make money? There are several ways in which you can make money. First, obviously, is using customers' information. For example, you have personal information like your phone number, your email address. They collect all of that and they can sell it to whoever requests this kind of information. So the information that I'm talking about may be both publicly available and also it can be private information also where you have not willingly given out this information. So this can be collected and this can be sold to other third parties who are interested and they can make money out of it. Secondly, they can actually hack into your business and take sensitive information or collect sensitive information, and then they will be able to make money out of it. For example, there is a direct competitor who is, for example, who can steal your formula for a product or something like that. They can make money out of it. And the third instance is where they can hack into your financial, for example, your bank accounts and so on. They are able to do that also. They are able to get the credentials of the bank accounts for your business and they are able to hack in and they are able to make money out of that also. They directly take money out of your business. Right. So we were talking about how threat actors or the bad guys make money. They can sell information or they can directly steal something of value from your business, or they can actually hack into your financial accounts and steal money. So these are several ways. Now you may ask a pertinent question. So why do you think I should care about this? How do you think I will be affected? So as a business owner, I am not very big. I am just starting. So why do you think I will be affected? So the answer is there's far too much malware that is available these days. For example, every day, various research labs all over the world, we are detecting up to 4.5 to 5 lakhs of new malware every day. So, which means at some point or the other, you are definitely going to encounter some or a lot of these malware because they are designed to infect systems. So, at some point, all businesses will be affected by malware. So, in fact, there is a famous saying in the cybersecurity industry that there are only two types of companies: one that have been hacked or have been affected by malware. The other is the ones who don't know yet that they've been hacked or affected by malware. So every business is to undergo this kind of, they are affected by malware. Even in Indian scenario, especially during the pandemic, we saw a rise in threat levels and attacks and all of that primarily because we were shifting to an office model to a home model, and there was a lot of things that need to be set right, especially in small and medium-sized companies. Work from home, giving provision for work from home, all of this took a little bit of time, and therefore the attackers saw a chance. They had a window of opportunity and they made use of it. Therefore, the kind of attacks and the malware proliferation was abnormally high especially during the pandemic. And this kind of malware attacks especially hits the MSMEs. Why? Because these attackers are very, very fond of this particular segment. There are several reasons for that. One is that, see, generally the larger companies like say Google or Microsoft, their cybersecurity maturity model is really high. I mean, they have a very matured model and they are very good with both defense and offense. They have several layers of security They have different teams working across the globe in different continents, different time zones. They have backup, business plans and things like that. I mean, for business continuity, they have backup plans. So all of this work in their favor. And so therefore, it is very difficult for an attacker or a group of attackers or an organization of attackers to actually affect big businesses. So what they are looking to is to target, medium and small businesses, because there are many people who do not give the importance to security that it deserves. So which means their systems are going to be vulnerable, they are not updated, and they are not using the correct software, they're not having adequate security. So they are going to be affected by malware, and it's especially damaging to MSMEs because there is no backup plan. We don't have extra systems, we don't have extra manpower, we don't have anything to fall back on. So we'll have to get these systems ready, and then that will take time, and then you'll have to put in money and effort, and you'll have to call in people from other agencies for consultations as to what happened if there is an attack. And that all of this requires, planning, patience, and money, effort, everything. So this is especially damaging to medium and small businesses. Also for large businesses suffer reputational loss. Suppose a large business that has been affected by hacking instance, or somebody, you read in the newspapers that this business has been hacked. So your trust level on that business goes down a little. Maybe they will correct it. Yes, definitely they will correct it. They will put in systems in place to see that further attacks do not happen. But still, the damage is done because there is a little erosion of trust, and that has to be borne by the large businesses. But whereas small and medium, your business operations itself is affected. So which is why you need to plan ahead. And as you can see in the statistics, there is a ransomware attack that occurs every 11 seconds all over the world. So what is this ransomware? Ransomware is a type of malware. So what does this malware do? See, when it comes into your system, try to put it in layman terms, it kind of locks or restricts access to all of your important files, which means the files are there on your system, but you're not able to use it because it has been locked. And in order to release it, the attacker, the person who has written the ransomware, he demands payments, usually in Bitcoins. So he'll say, I want you to pay this much, only then I will release your files. Now, please keep in mind that you should not be paying money to these people, because paying money does not guarantee the return of files to you. There is 0% guarantee that you'll get the files back. In fact, it doesn't happen at all. So you should not be paying money, because the more people pay money, more the bad guys will start writing more ransomware. So which means we are going to be having a problem. So since there is an attack that is happening every 11 seconds, you can imagine the kind of malware, the amount of malware that is there on the internet and in use. And therefore, we will have to take steps in order to protect our business. Now we're going to look at some basic, small, practical guidelines on how you can protect your business. So first and foremost, password. You may think it is a small thing, password. You may think, oh, I know about passwords, but you should know that passwords, weak passwords, are the cause of a lot of breaches. As you can see in the statistics on the screen, how many people, millions of people, are using the password 123456. And not only that, people make a common mistake of using the same password in multiple different accounts. You have to use strong password. A strong password is a minimum of 9 characters with a combination of uppercase, lowercase, special characters, numbers, everything. So you have to have strong password. And you should not be recycling password, same password. For example, for 6 months you use one password, the next 6 months you use another password, and then the next 6 months you go back to the first password. You don't do that. You don't recycle passwords. And then you'll also have to ensure that the passwords are being changed regularly depending on the type of your business. If you are in the financial sector, if you have a business in the financial sector, that means you have to be even more stringent. And as it is, RBI has guidelines for those kind of businesses. But again, you have to have a strong password policy, and you have to keep changing it all the time. And you'll have to ensure that you revoke access to accounts that are no longer in use. For example, somebody leaves your organization, somebody is not there, and they have access to important data in your organization. You'll have to ensure that those accounts are cancelled and so on. So there are in the market, there are several password manager programs available. You have to choose one of good quality and reputation. You may use them to store your password. And in fact, many of these programs also offer a facility where you can generate strong password. You can also use that to generate strong passwords. So please do not take passwords lightly. This is, a very, very important thing. You'll have to use strong password and ensure it is changed and you don't use the same password in all of the websites. Firewall. Now we were talking about layered security. See, generally layered security is you have to have some form of security in all of the endpoints. Suppose you run a business and you have, say, 30 computers. All of the 30 computers have to have some kind of security product. This is one layer. Apart from this, many businesses go in for a hardware or a firewall, a network firewall that is installed on the gateway, which means you can stop attacks at the gateway. If you have a hardware firewall, if you install a hardware firewall, you can stop attacks at the gateway. And when you have such layered security, the IT department has to ensure that these products are configured properly. Now, any security product, the success of the product largely depends on how far it is updated and how well it is configured. They have to configure the product well to ensure that if there is any suspicious activity that is detected. For example, you find somebody trying to get into your office network at odd hours, where they are not supposed to be getting into your office network. Anything, you can set up your firewall to alert in cases of abnormal activity like this. Also, you'll have to enable logging. Logging is very, very important. See, I'm saying this from experience also, because we have had a lot of cases where customers come to us and they say, there's been a breach, there has been an incident. But when we look at the logs, the logs are not enabled, which means we don't have any idea as to what. They have the product, but they don't have any logs. So we have no idea what has happened there. So it is very, very important to ensure that the logging is turned on and it has to be configured properly. And anybody who is going to access the office network from outside, like work from home scenarios, or they are on a trip, they need to access the office network, it has to be done properly via a VPN, with preferably with multi-factor authentication, MFA. You have to have credentials. Apart from that, you can have SMS and things like that, with OTP and things like that. So all of this needs to be done for network. Next is update. Now, this is very, very important. I never tire telling people about the importance of updates. So I'm talking about updates overall. This is not just your security product update. This is the update for your operating system, for all of the applications that you use in your business, including your browsers, which is very, very important. A browser is a very important application because you browse websites using that. And if you do not use a good quality browser and keep it updated, you can be sure that there will be an attack sooner rather than later. Now, keep your operating system up to date. All other software, any software like TiE, whatever, any software that you use, you need to keep it up to date. And security software and browsers and any other software, all of these need to be kept up to date, and preferably all of them on automatic updates. So, and you need to check if all of these products are updated on a regular basis, number one. Number two, you'll have to uninstall any software that is no longer in use, or outdated software that you're no longer using, or software for which there is no support from the vendor. All of these softwares need to be uninstalled. You can find alternate software. There are multiple options available for example, for financial transactions, there are multiple softwares available. You can choose from one of them. Do not use outdated software where the vendor or the software maker is no longer working on the product or giving any updates. Yeah, and one very, very important thing that I would like to mention here is, just as you are investing, when you're starting a business, you are investing in probably a lot of things, including, hardware for systems and things like that is required to run your business. Please also invest in software, paid software. Please do not use pirated software. Very, very important. So a lot of people buy laptops and system with pirated Windows. Generally, Windows is the common operating system that is used throughout the world. So people, just because they're getting it cheap for a few thousand rupees, they get pirated operating system. But there's a huge problem that we are security vendors are facing with pirated products, because these products do not receive the updates. They are unpatched, which is a big hole in your security. Anything can come in to your system, or anything can go out of your system. So there is a two-way traffic there. So if you use pirated products, you can forget about this. This is the most common and a very dangerous mistake that all of them use. So do not use pirated software. If at all you are not able to buy expensive software, you can go in for open source software. And even these software you need to download from the maker's website, that is the vendor's website. Do not download software from any website, any other sharing website. Please download it directly from the vendor's website. Configuration, we have already kind of covered it. So as I've already said, configuration is key. Whether it is the servers that you use in your business, or whether it is the computers, normal computers that you use in your business, or whether it is a security product, or whether it is a firewall product that you use, every product needs to be configured properly. For example, you may have a lot of employees, and all of these employees do not require admin access. So if they do not require admin access, do not give them admin access. So they do not install pirated software or unwanted software, or they do not uninstall software that is supposed to be running. And so you can also prevent shadow IT. Shadow IT means employees choose or install software that they are comfortable with without informing the IT department, which is a big gray area here, because IT does not know what software is installed there, and those software that is installed by the employees, if they are not updated or properly, or if they are kind of software of less repute, then that can also cause malware issues in your organization. So use strong credentials, uninstall unused applications. And then ports. So we will probably come to it a little later. So default ports that are used by certain applications, you can change them. So the IT department will know all about it. You can change the default ports, so that there are things, there are softwares called bots. These bots are typically written to simply automatically go and check if this port is open. Port is like a door, to see if this door is open. If it is open, then it knows that it has access inside your network. It can do, like I said, it's two-way. So it can take out information or put in information, put in malware into your organization's network. So you can change all of that. The IT department will know about. So these are some configuration things that can be done by the IT department. Next, backup. Very, very important. Not just for running your business. You may want to keep accounts, tabs of what has been happening and how your business is running. You may need data to submit to IT, income tax and things like to the government and all of that. So for that, backup is required. Apart from this, for security also, backup is very, very important. You can never talk enough about backup. And there has to be a backup policy, first of all. So what needs to be backed up? Where are you backing it up? Who has access to that backup? How often is it being backed up? All of these things are to be discussed internally, and then you'll have to set up a policy. Typically, backup is taken regularly, and it is not kept within the same network. You have to keep it separately. And preferably that system where you're storing the backup preferably should not have internet access. You have to have multiple copies of backup so that you can fall back. If one backup is corrupted, you can fall back on another. And the IT has to have a periodical exercise where they restore backups and see if the restoration is working fine. And also you have to plan the frequency of backups. This is especially important. We have talked about ransomware, right? So that I told you it is a type of malware that locks the files on your system and asks you to pay money to release the files. So now, especially in these kind of scenarios, if perchance your systems are affected by ransomware, you can still run your business using backup copies. But they, as I said, they have to be kept separately. They should not be in the network, and it should be off the internet and things like that. So in this case, there will be no discontinuity in the business. You will be able to go about your business without paying the ransom. Very, very important to have a backup policy. Next is email security. Again, email is the main method of business communication that is used these days. So emails, instant messaging, phones, and especially emails, this is the most accepted form of corporate communication. So all of us send and receive tons of emails every day. So again, this medium of communication is made use of by attackers. So as I said, attackers can write, malware writers or authors can write malware. They can be a whole different set of people who can distribute the malware. The person who is distributing the malware may not be the same as the person who is writing the malware. So you may have different people or different organizations, in fact, that can do that. So how do people distribute malware? Email is a main method. So they can, phishing emails and so on. So they can formulate, they can, create emails that looks very enticing, or that looks very tempting to the user, for the user to open it. And there is always a sense of urgency on these emails. So it'll say, you need to submit your tax now, click on this link and do it, and things like that. So it will always be a sense of urgency in these emails. So you'll have to be very, very careful with emails. So these phishing emails will have either, malicious attachments. So you should not be opening attachments from unknown senders. If you have an email from an unknown person, do not open attachments. Always ensure that all of the attachments are scanned, number one. Number two, do not click on any links on the emails, even if it is a legitimate email, for example, from a bank. So if there is a link for the bank website inside the email, try not to click on it. Go to the website and type out the website address, and go to the browser and type out the website address. Because these phishing emails, they may contain links to malicious websites or even phishing websites. So when there's a suspicious link in the email, it may, for the user, it may look legitimate. So when he clicks on that link, it may take him to a website that looks like his bank website, but actually it is not. So once you put in your credentials in that website, you can forget about the money. So ensure that you do not click on any links inside the email, or click on attachments, open the attachments. Also, do not fill in forms again. So these are things that you should not be doing. Always, and many of these emails, are very poorly written. So you'll find a lot of errors in those emails. And typically all of these spam emails and phishing emails, they will not be addressed directly to you. Okay, they will not be using your name. They will simply say, dear user, dear customer, dear this, or whatever, because these are all common. They are sending it to thousands of people. So from that, you can understand that it is not addressed directly to you, and that you have to exercise caution while opening or seeing or clicking on links from those emails. Safe browsing, again, it is a good idea for the IT department or for the business to invest in web filtering software. A lot of security software come with this web filtering feature. So what you can do with web filter, you can decide what kind of websites your employees can visit or cannot visit, at what time they are allowed to visit these, during office hours, after office hours. All of these can be configured in your security product. Many products have this feature. Apart from that, it is on a security perspective, from a security perspective, it is important to have a web filtering solution, so that you can block out all malicious and phishing websites. Now, there is a scenario where simply visiting a website can cause a malicious download into your system. You don't even need to click on anything on that website. Simply visiting the website can cause a malware download. Now, in order to avoid that, you will have to completely block access to those websites, which is what is done by security software. They have this feature. Even the K7 product has the feature where you can completely block access to these phishing or malicious websites. Now, next thing, HTTPS and HTTP. Now, everybody knows that HTTPS S stands for secure. So what does it actually mean? So when you're putting your credentials, for example, your username and password, always ensure that you're using it on an HTTPS site. Why? Because the credentials that you put in are encrypted and sent, which means anybody who is eavesdropping or somebody who's coming in the middle and trying to hack that information, as you type in, they're trying to hack it, that will not happen on HTTPS. So that only means that the information is encrypted. Just because a site says HTTPS, it does not mean that the contents of that site are safe. Okay, so basically that site can even host malware. Just because it says HTTPS, it doesn't mean that the site is safe. It only means that the username and passwords that you put in are encrypted. That's it. So ensure that these are things that employees are aware of. Again, we'll be coming to that. A lot of awareness programs are required for employees because humans are the weakest link in this cybersecurity chain. Social engineering. We were talking about humans being the weakest link. Social engineering attacks make use of this. Okay, they find an employee who is gullible, who is able to believe a lot of things, who, for example, you send an email, this employee has not received any cybersecurity training or any cyber hygiene training. So this employee does not know that they should not be clicking on links on spam emails. So what happens is, if you send an email to that person, it is more likely that that employee will click on the link and open that email. The moment you click on the link and open the email, you can forget about the security. So the malware can get into your internal office network, and from then on, what it does depends on what the malware, the payload of the malware. Anyway, so you'll have to ensure that you exercise caution when interacting with strangers, either for business reasons or personal. So do not believe, especially using Facebook and links on Facebook, and somebody sends you an email and all of that. Ensure that you do not fall prey to this kind of social engineering attack. So just to summarize, you have seen all of this before. So please exercise caution with regards to email attachments, also links on emails, also forms in emails. Ensure that you have a web filtering program that blocks access to malicious websites. So that we have talked about this scenario where simply visiting a website can cause an infection. So you can avoid all of that simply by having web filtering. Also, do not download software from shady sharing sites. Always download software from legitimate sites from the source. You'll have to software from the source. USB devices, do not share. USBs, they are very, very handy. All businesses use USB devices because you can copy large amounts of data. They are very small. You can carry it with you anywhere. Presentations, your brochures, your marketing content, all of that can be done, carried in your USB devices, but also they pose a lot of security risk. People can steal data, and bringing a USB device from outside into your office network with the malware in it can cause an infection inside your office network, which means all devices need to be scanned before they are accessed for the contents. So all of this, you have to have a policy for that. We'll be looking at this more in detail in another slide where employees bring their own devices. Anyway, so these are some of the things that, this is just a summary. Yeah, so this is the BYOD, bring your own device. Now, there are a lot of startups or businesses where initially they don't invest on the hardware, rather they ask employees if they can use their own systems for the business. So and then later, as the business picks up, you can invest in hardware. Now when this is the scenario, a lot of people are bringing their personal devices to work, including their smartphones. So before you use the personal devices inside the office network, the devices have to be sanitized. You have to have a policy. You need to think about what kind of risk these devices pose for your business. So when you bring a device from outside, for example, a USB, you'll have to always ensure that it is scanned, and that only some people, only trusted people have access, or they can bring in their USBs. Other people are not allowed to bring in their USBs. Also, when you bring in your personal laptops to work, all laptops that are being used for work purposes have to be installed with security software. You need to have a backup policy on this, because they are using their personal laptop for business purposes, which means they're going to be holding a lot of business data on their personal laptops. The business owners, please pay attention to what data these people have access to. So you'll have to ensure that they have limited access to data, sensitive data on their system. And even when they do, please ensure that there's a backup policy, please ensure that there is a security software installed, and so on. So these are some of the things that you have to keep in mind before you allow employees to use their personal devices in your office environment. So some additional recommendations, again, that depends on the nature of business also. So businesses that are use a lot of financial transactions, or are in the finance segment, you can go in for a periodic vulnerability assessment or penetration testing to see if your defenses are intact and people are not able to breach in, or whether there is a vulnerability that you need to fix, things like that. So these are services that are offered by very reputable organizations, including security companies, product companies. They also offer this service. You can make use of these services periodically to find out if your security posture is okay, and if your company is safe from a malware attack to a great extent. Also, access to internal office network from outside. We have already mentioned this. Please ensure that it is done only via VPN. Use a good software and ensure there is a multi-factor authentication, MFA. So the IT department will know about it. Please ensure that you invest in all of these things. So especially these days, when a lot of companies are allowing employees to work from home, these are things that you need to keep in mind. Network level authentication, ensure that you have network level security. And there is also a category of software called identity and access management. We will be looking at it a bit later. So you can use these software to allow access to employees. What is it, who has access to what, when should they be given access, why should they be given access, for how long should they be given access? All of these things you can configure. You can use this software to configure that. Yeah, so the rest of the things, again, never go in for pirated, especially the operating system or any software, for that matter, any software. Do not go in for pirated software. Please invest that money. Or if you think that software is expensive, there are so many alternatives for that. For example, Adobe is expensive. You have so many alternatives for that. But if you're doing Adobe, please ensure that you're paying the money for that and then using it. Do not use pirated software. Personal information, personally identifiable information. So this is very important. So a lot of people do not know it. In fact, common, for example, all of us receive these spam calls, right? We have mobile phones. We have every day we receive all of these calls. Do you want credit card? Do you want insurance? Do you want this? Do you want that? How do you think they have access to our phone number? Because we give out our phone numbers, and this information is being sold to so many third parties. And also, especially, this is on a lighter note. If you opt for a DND, do not disturb, if you put your number in it, you can be sure that you will be disturbed. If you do not actually put your number into the DND, maybe you will not be disturbed. But if you do put in, you can be very sure that you will get calls. So what is personal to you? Your email ID, your phone numbers, your photos, or any identity card or any number that is given by the government, your Aadhaar, your PAN, all of these are personal to you. It is important to keep this information safe. So not just even in the business, especially in a business where you are collecting customers' information, there are a lot of rules and regulations. You need to do it properly. Otherwise, you will attract fines from the government if you're not storing that customer information properly. So we've had a lot of customers who have come in where there's a breach and they have not configured security properly and things like that. We've had a lot of cases like that, and they don't know what information is needs to be kept safe and what information is important. So it is important for you to identify what information is to be kept safe. So again, like I said in the first slide, all of these information, any or all of this information can be used to make money. So typically, when malware authors write something like a spyware, it will look for all of this information. It is designed to look for certain information. It can extract that information and it can send it outside, and which then can be used to make money. So it is important to know or to keep your personal information safe, also because somebody can make use of that information to impersonate you. Okay, so just to get into your office network, some employees on leave, if they know the username and password, or if they know their email ID or whatever it is, they will be able to access it. So it is important to keep that information safe. Access management, again, this is a subtopic of identity and access management. So who are the people who have access to important data, to important servers, to important systems in your organization? For how long do they need to have access? For example, if you are a company, you don't have your own IT department, you have somebody else come in and do the IT work periodically, you need to give them access to your servers. But for how long are you going to give them access? Do they have permanent access to their servers? Absolutely bad idea. So you have to give temporary access to them. You have to ensure that after they finish their work, you revoke their access. And also within your company, who are the people who can have access to servers, to important systems, to important data? You need to ensure that you decide on that and act accordingly. And when an employee leaves an organization, especially an employee who has had access to a lot of important data, do ensure that all of their access is revoked, all of their passwords are changed. And if you have given VPN access, all of that needs to be looked in. In fact, you need to have a series of steps that need to be done when an employee leaves an organization. This is an important part of it. Who has access to what? When do you need to give access? When do you need to revoke access? So we had already talked about identity and access management, IAM products. There are a lot of products in the market where you can buy it and you can configure it. So you can integrate that into your, this is an additional layer of security. You can use it to decide or to configure who has access to what in your organization. Physical security, again, a very overlooked part of security. So there are many businesses, when you walk in, you will see that some of their important systems are left unattended. Anybody can log in. And in fact, when employees step away from their screen, they don't even lock their screens, which means anybody can sit on their screens and then continue with whatever work. So it is important to have those kind of policies. Lock your screens. When you are stepping away, lock it. All important systems, all important servers have to be kept under lock and key. You have to have security cameras, not just for physical security, but also you have to have security cameras all over the place in your office, especially where you are keeping your important data or important servers and all of that. Enable logging in all of the security software, and ensure that the data from the security cameras is also backed up and it is also reviewed periodically and things like that. So physical security, again, is very important. So ensure that you give access only to the people who need to have access. In fact, people who don't need to have access, like normal employees, they don't even need admin access on their system. All you need to do is create a normal user account, not an admin account, so that they are not able to install extra software or uninstall software that needs to be there on the system. So yeah, so this is just a sum up. So these are some of the practical things that you can do. There are a lot more things that we can learn of, that it really depends on the type of business, the scale of business, what is the investment that you are willing to make, the investment in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of effort, how far are you willing to go. Please remember that cybersecurity is done to minimize risk. As you know, there is no such thing as 100% security. There is no guarantee for anything in life, including in the real and the cyber world. So there is no 100% security. By investing in cybersecurity, you are systematically bringing down the risk, so that your business is able to continue without any disruption or anything. You are able to handle and you are able to perform your day-to-day tasks. So this needs a lot of planning and investment, especially in times of, first of all, all of you need to be congratulated on signing up for this program, because a lot of people do not even pay importance to cybersecurity. So all of you are here because you feel it is something important and you feel that it is something that you need to learn. So for that, first of all, congratulations. So please keep up, and then create policies. But when I say cybersecurity, it is not just installing a security product. You need to have policies in place. You need to have people who need to look into it. You need to have security software, everything, and you need to have processes also. All of these things together make cybersecurity. In fact, as a company, security product company, we have had a lot of scenarios where a misconfigured system, so they have not configured the server properly, server access, and they have given server access, important server access, to a third party IT company that does the annual maintenance, but they have not revoked the access. Because they have not revoked the access, some other person was able to gain access. They have not changed the passwords. We keep hearing all of these again and again. They have not changed the password. So for example, if your company is employing, let's say the IT company A for 1 year, for next year for annual maintenance, you go to company B. But for company A also, you give one credential, the same credential without changing the password. You're giving the same credential to company B. It is not good. So we've actually had cases like that where credentials have been shared across companies. They have not been changed. And because of all of this, there have been attacks. In fact, there have been a very prominent attack where, the server was put on they had public access to a very important server. Public access, which means anybody from outside is able to access, or any important server should be kept within the organization, right? Within the office network. So they had given public access, and because of that, there was a breach, and there was a huge malware scenario, and it took a lot of time to rectify that. So we have companies who have come to us with all of these issues. So planning is key. You have to invest time and effort, more than money, time and effort, and you have to have the willingness to go with cybersecurity to keep your business safe. So with that, I will leave the floor open to any questions that you may have.